Hello, you, and welcome. I've only recently gotten into traditional art and thought it might be fun to share that journey of exploration, experimentation, and rediscovering my joy of art. I'll be playing around with some watercolor today, so these are my art supplies. Let's get to filling this tiny little spread with some tiny little foxes. When I draw, I like to start off by putting down some basic shapes here with the circle and the bean, just to help me position everything and visualize everything on the paper. I also prefer sketching in colors, just because I think I'm used to doing that digitally, where I'll just put one sketch on top of another in different colors, indicating different parts of the drawings or different details. So that just translates into traditional in this case. It also makes it really easy to draw the line art in a darker color directly on top of the colored sketch without having to even erase it, even though I did that here. I kind of stopped doing that later on in the video. I'm also using a brown color for the line art instead of a black. I feel like black can be a little bit intimidating for me, a little bit harsh. Now that I'm ready to put down some color, I start by basically just adding down a lot of water. It really helps me get a lot of control to put down where exactly I want the paint to be, and kind of mimics what a layer mask would do for me digitally. And then when I go in with the paint after, it helps me get an even color everywhere that I lay down the water, and it also helps me get more smooth gradients. I do add a lot of white details over time, just because to correct some of or lighten up some of my darker areas. I'm not sure I've seen many people use white watercolor paint, but I think it gives a really cool effect, so I'm happy with that. I do also love watching the color just spread on the paper. That's one thing that you never get digitally. Now, this first one is a red fox. I only really have one regret with it, and that's that the coloration is very red as opposed to adding more yellow to it, which I wish I did, so that it would turn out more orange and more naturally looking like a fox. Hopefully I'll do some more red foxes in the future. For my second fox, I think I mostly focused on getting a very different pose, so they wouldn't be too similar to each other. And you might be able to tell by the ears being so huge, this is a fennec fox. And I did draw the feet very big as opposed to what a normal fennec fox would, but it's just what the style is, I think. It just adds some extra cuteness to it. And I mean, I can always try to make it more realistic in the future, but being this cute little chibi style, I have to draw those thick paws and thick paw beans. I love drawing the feet or the paws of the animals, so it's probably my favorite part. I did do some mistakes on the line work here. You can see especially on the ear, where I've kind of covered it up with some white pen. I'm not too concerned about it because the watercolor is a little bit opaque, so I know I can kind of fix some of those minor mistakes by just adding some layers on top of it. So I wasn't too concerned about it. In the end, I end up going over the line art just to make it pop a little bit more. And we are done, and I'm just gonna cut those out to be fitted into the sketchbook. And so here are the first two foxes. Going back in, I did want to fill an entire spread, so this is a very round boy. He ended up being my least favorite out of the bunch, but that's mostly because he doesn't really look like a fox. It's more looking like a bear. I still do enjoy that little round nose that I put in, but yeah, the post doesn't really work. Maybe you can tell by the color, but this one is supposed to be an Arctic fox. I did end up I wanted to get more of like a fairy-like gradient in it, but I don't think I quite accomplished that. I wish I'd gone in with just some harder colors and been more creative. At this point, I was also starting to get a little bit impatient with letting the watercolor dry. That is one of the downsides of working traditionally. I don't have the patience for it. I haven't trained that in myself yet. So I did go and start on a new fox. And from now on, I'll be jumping a little bit back and forth, but hopefully it won't be too distracting. Now, the way that I'm coloring in now ends up, I think, being my favorite, just because of the way the colors blend together. It's supposed to be a gray fox, which has this really interesting color pattern, where it's kind of like a brown-red mixed in with a darker gray and some white speckles, and it kind of gets this salt and pepper for effect, and I really love that. So I'm really looking forward to just tackling it and trying to interpret it in my kind of chibi, cute style, very simplistic. So this is the simplest colored fox. It is just all black. It's supposed to be a silver fox. And the only thing I can really say about it is that I do enjoy how I managed to get the face kind of pop even if the color is just entirely black. Here you can see those details I was talking about with the salt and pepper fur. I do wish I had added more of that details to get more of that effect, but in the end he turned out quite cute, so I'm not too mad. I also wish I would have added some of that to the silver fox actually, because that would have been interesting. Now all there's left is to cut them out and arrange them into the sketchbook. If you're still here, then thank you so much for joining me, and here's the final result.